Yo, what's going on? Mike from Mike Talk Sports. So Gilbert Burns is going to be facing off against Jorge Masvidal in the co-main event of UFC 287. Let me tell you guys why I think Jorge Masvidal will get finished by Gilbert Burns in this fight. So this is a risky prediction here, guys. Let me tell you guys why. Jorge Masvidal is damn near impossible to finish. So we all know Gilbert Burns is known for this crazy jiu-jitsu, right? And Jorge Masvidal is not really known for his grappling defense or his grappling in general. This is an extremely underrated part of Jorge Masvidal's game. His jiu-jitsu and defensive jiu-jitsu is absolutely incredible, guys. In 21 UFC fights, so such a significant sample size, 21 UFC fights, he has never lost by submission. In fact, Jorge Masvidal in 21 UFC fights has never really even came close to getting submitted. He's never even had a panic moment of, holy shit, I'm about to get submitted. So Jorge Masvidal not only is really good at getting out of submission, but more importantly, he is so good at avoiding situations in which get him submitted. We saw against Colby Covington, for example, Colby kept trying to take his back and get that rear naked choke, and Colby never even really got close to taking Jorge Masvidal's back for a rear naked choke attempt. And then when you want to talk about him not getting submitted, but him getting TKO'd, obviously he got KO'd pretty brutally against Kamaru Usman in their second matchup. But before that, he had never gotten KO'd in the UFC either. So Jorge Masvidal, all of his losses were via decision, and even then, via split decision for the most part. So Jorge Masvidal's last KO loss ever since that Usman fight before that is 2008. So it's been over 10 years since this guy has gotten submitted, basically, and since this guy has gotten knocked out. Besides that Usman knockout, the last Jorge Masvidal submission loss is that very famous inverted triangle in 2009 where he was standing up and this guy got an insane inverted triangle on him. If you guys have never seen that submission before, I hope you guys check it out. One of the best in MMA history. But here's why I do think Gilbert Burns will finish the unfinishable Jorge Masvidal. To me, there has been a distinct change in personality and, more importantly, mentality in Gilbert Burns over the last year. Gilbert Burns has always kind of annoyed me and MMA fans for being this notorious great jiu-jitsu guy, for being able to roll with the best guys in the world in the jiu-jitsu realm, but never using it in his MMA fights. And I think the breaking point for Gilbert Burns was that Khamzat Chimaev fight. He was kind of scared of the ground with Khamzat Chimaev, and maybe that was a good decision, maybe that was a bad decision. Only time will tell if these guys go up against each other again. But Gilbert Burns said, man, I'm getting beat up on the feet. I'm taking an exorbitant amount of damage. Even though I look really good on the feet, man, I'm not really doing anything. When I faced Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I didn't even shoot for a submission. When I faced Tyron Woodley, I never even really shot for a submission against him. Against Kamaru Usman, I really never went for a submission. When watching Leon Edwards fight Usman, he even shot a submission in that second rematch where Leon Edwards ended up getting the head kick. So if Leon Edwards can implement a jiu-jitsu game plan against Kamaru Usman, why didn't I, this incredible jiu-jitsu specialist? So Gilbert Burns really went back to the drawing board and said, let me get back to my roots. I'm a big 170er now. I used to be 155, and then I moved up to 170 with a smaller 170 frame. He's looking absolutely huge lately, really muscular. He has that crazy grip strength now. Let me start using some of my submissions. So last fight against Neil Magny, I thought Gilbert Burns was going to win this fight, but I really wanted to see him use his jiu-jitsu because Neil Magny has a really nice advantage over Gilbert Burns on the feet, and it was that reach and it was that jab. Gilbert Burns is not really good at straight line punches. So you know what Gilbert Burns said? He said, yeah, I agree with people saying that I have somewhat of a weakness on the feet against Neil Magny. I'm going to take him down and I'm going to submit him. And he made it look rather easy against Neil Magny, a guy with really good defensive jiu-jitsu, just like Jorge Masvidal. So Gilbert Burns really has this change in mentality. Hey, Kamaru Usman is not the champion anymore. This championship is wide open. Let me go take that belt and let me finish Jorge Masvidal. And really in interviews, I've loved his mentality going into this fight. He said, hey, it took Kamaru Usman 7 rounds to finish Jorge Masvidal. Colby Covington dominated Jorge Masvidal, but he couldn't finish him in 5 rounds. I'm done being Gilbert Burns, the decision guy who takes Stephen Wonderboy Thompson to a decision. I'm done with being Gilbert Burns, a guy who's just going to stand and bang on the feet. In my opinion, I envision this fight going down where Gilbert Burns is super relentless with the forward pressure. He's going to be extremely grappling heavy. I think he's going to go for a TKO on the ground, really soften him up in the first 2 rounds. And if Jorge Masvidal is not out of there by the 3rd round, I think he's going to take him down again, get the side control, blast those elbows from side control, and right when Jorge Masvidal says, okay, I've been getting absolutely pummelized on the ground for the last 2 rounds, I've been getting my face smashed in, let me try to get back to my feet. I think Jorge Masvidal in the 3rd round is going to try to get back to his feet, and then I think Gilbert Burns is going to take his back and lock up that rear naked choke. That's going to be my official prediction for this fight, a 3rd round rear naked choke from Gilbert Burns, but I could also see him finishing him on the ground in the first 2 rounds. To me, Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu and grappling and ground and pound has been so underutilized in his career, and I think he's finally starting to realize that. Nonetheless, Jorge Masvidal is still underrated in my opinion, has really good grappling defense, and is extremely dangerous on the feet, so I can't wait to see what happens in this fight. Let me know what you guys think is going to transpire in this co-main event of UFC 287.